Welcome back to Fire to Fork. Today I'm going to recreate my first ever dedicated cooking video in the same spot, and that is also my most viewed video ever, which is wild. And I did my ultimate steak and chips, steak and fries actually I did, because the Americans will click on it and you get more views. Yeah, clever. So I did this years ago. I think it was like 2018, maybe I shot it. Maybe 2019. I was still in my corporate job. Certainly wasn't anywhere like full time. And yeah, it was great fun. It was relaxed. I just got changed out of my suit to come here and shoot. And yeah, this time we're going to recreate it on a massive scale. And by massive, I mean just remove all budgets, remove all limitations that you would normally have. Just go hard. I mean, ultimate. This is a ridiculous meal. Honestly, ridiculous. It's something that the vast majority of people won't be able to do or afford. This is something I want you to take the techniques and tips from. But I did some maths, and this is a seriously expensive thing. It'll also feed lots of people though. So look, if you've got the resources, totally do it. This is going to be awesome. But I fully understand if you don't. This is going to be one of those ones where watch it for entertainment. I'm not pressuring anyone to go and bloody buy all this stuff instead of, you know, putting diesel in their car and going and exploring. Now, in preparation for this cook, what I did is while I was at home, I dry brined it. And what I mean by dry brined it, that means I sprinkled salt all over it and left it overnight in the fridge uncovered. Now you'll see here, the fat has stayed thick and the meat part of it has condensed. And that's because it is dehydrated slightly and dried out, which will give it a more intense, slightly funkier, and I mean that in a good way, funkier flavor. It's really, really delicious. The other thing I've done is before this cook, I left it out and I got it to room temperature. That's because we want it to cook evenly throughout. And the internal temperature we're aiming for is 52 degrees, which is at the time rare, but we're doing a reverse sear method. So this is going to be medium rare by the time it's seared, which is about 54, 55 degrees. Just a reminder, somewhere in this video there is a code word. So make sure you comment that code word down in the video description, not the video description, the comments down below on YouTube to win a copy of my book. So, first thing we need to do is make some grease. All right, we need a pot and then we need some fat. I don't know exactly how much this weighs, but I would guess probably 8 to 10 kilos. It is so heavy and so much. This is pure Wagyu fat. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna just leave it on the fire and just render it down until we have basically oil. Now there is still some meat on this, as you can see. That's okay, we're gonna scoop that out later. But initially, just wanna do this Wagyu fat. And this is gonna be how we do the chips. Don't worry, none of this is going to waste. I'm 100% keeping all of this. I'm gonna bottle it back, strain it, bottle it back up, and keep it to many, many more cooks. You can just use normal beef fat. Wagyu fat's obviously quite buttery and nice, but you can go to your butcher and just get normal beef fat, very inexpensive, and just do this, render it down on low heat. Okay, so this has been on for about 15 minutes or something, and it kind of just looks like soup. So you can see there's oil down the bottom there and stuff, it's all just bubbling away. It'll probably take a good hour or two. So don't rush it, not too much heat. It smells incredible, to be honest. It smells like really nice roast beef. This is a standard Red Rhodes tripod, and it's pretty bloody tall. So I'm 1.8 meters tall, or 5'11" in the old money, and I'm about the same height. So it's about 1.8 meters tall. We're not going to use this, because this steak, look, it would work, but that's kind of the height we want it. Let's give ourselves a little bit more room. So the guys at Red Rhodes decided to pimp this tripod and make it ridiculous. So we've got extra poles, and we're going to make the most ridiculous tripod you can make. Okay, extra pieces added. Now let's go again. I can't even reach the top of it to put the bloody chain on. So, that's pretty long. Nah, let's go more. More chain. Oh, that sounds like Taylor arriving. My mate Taylor's coming for dinner. Let's make this thing work. Extra chain. So I look like Ronnie. Oh, wait. Gonna put this thing on the bottom. That's how you adjust it. Drop the thing in the top. Now, one of the other reasons I'm doing this video is because it was actually the cover of my book, this kind of a hanging tomahawk, and I realized I'd never actually done the recipe. So I thought, why the hell not do it? Extra chain. Perfect. That's looking pretty good. Looks like fried chicken at the moment. All right, my mate Taylor's here. I'm gonna say hi to him and I'll get back to you. That's not fried chicken, that's Wagyu fat. Alrighty, so this not fried chicken is looking pretty good. So you don't want to get it too dark, otherwise the oil will get a burning taste. So this has been on for probably 2 hours now. All the fat, well pretty much all the fat is rendered out, as much as I'm willing to do. Look, in ideal circumstances you could do this at like sort of 60 degrees Celsius. This is more like 100. Got all the stuff off the bottom, all the stuff out of everywhere. See those little bits? Just get rid of them. Ideally we'd run this through a towel, but look, we're in the bush. It'll be fine for this first fry and then I'll filter it at home for the next fries. I'm gonna put that aside because we want to focus on everything else before we deal with this. We're gonna have everything lined up in a row so that this all goes smoothly, because there's a lot of very good ingredients at steak and I don't want to screw them up. All right, the main event, the steak. This is what you've all been waiting for. Look, in my previous video, I cooked a pretty impressive tomahawk. This is significantly bigger. It's the size of my head, seriously. So this is a Jacks Creek 8-9 score. Now, in scoring, it goes it goes up to 9+ in Australia, which is, it's an MBS, which is the marble, I'll put that on the screen, I can't remember, it's the something score, but basically marbling is this intermuscular fat. So you've got a big muscle there, and there's fat running through it, as you can see. That directly translates to tenderness, and you can basically look at a steak on a, in a supermarket or wherever, in a butcher, and you can immediately tell the quality and the tenderness of it based on the marbling. You look at my hands, they are so greasy just from picking that up then. That's because Wagyu fat melts at an incredibly low temperature. Just the temperature of my hands will start to melt Wagyu fat. This is a Wagyu cross, so it's Wagyu crossed with a Black Angus. There's a midgie in my ear. There's a Wagyu cross with the Black Angus, which as far as I'm concerned is a perfect combination, because you get the richness, the butteriness of the Wagyu combined with the steaky meatiness, beefiness of a Black Angus. So you can see it's beautifully marbled and tender and everything, but it should actually not just taste like butter, it should taste like steak, which is what I like. I love steak. So in a second I'm going to drill a hole in there, but before that I need to go wire this thing up. So I'm going to go and get some wire. And the reason we're doing that is because basically we don't want these tender fat caps and things falling off and going into the fire, because we're going to get this getting warm for a long time. So start with, drill, thank you. Forgot mine, thanks mate. Okay, wrap this around there. No, wrap it around the cap, back under the wire. You can also use string, and don't worry, the string won't burn, because it kind of just gets protected by the temperature of the beef. It's kind of like if you put a bottle of water on a fire, you'll never burn that bottle, or over a fire, you'll never burn the bottle because the water can only get to 100 degrees. Fun fact. That's good. I'm gonna get a drill bit. And to make my life easier, I like to just put a bit of wire through it because the hooks are often not quite the right size and don't sit very nicely. So a bit of wire, simply just wrap that around. And there we go, ready for the fire. Okay, so we've got this sort of roughly hanging here, just minding its own business. We move the tripod in such a way that this thing, the biggest mistake I see people make is hanging this thing directly over a fire. You do not want to do that. You want to hang it next to a fire. And you want the fire to be quite tall. That's why it's kind of built up over here. And I'm actually going to move this maybe off to the side a little bit more. It's all about positioning. Because we want to hang this here for probably an hour and a half, given its weight. So here's our hook. Here's our other hook. We want to hang it pretty close to the ground, well and truly close enough for my dog to get to it. So hopefully Fred is well behaved today. And then I want to put a meat thermometer in it. Leave it, Fred. Get away from it. Go on, go away. Poor dog. I don't really usually feel sorry for Fred, but I feel sorry for him today. So I picked one of these things up on the way here. I've never used one before. I don't know if they're any good. It's a meter. It's a meat thermometer, wireless meat thermometer. So I'm going to put that right into the middle here. And then I'm going to set a thing on my phone to let me know when it's at 50 degrees. And I'm going to take it off at 52. Now, the reason it's, number one, the reason it's not directly over the fire is because only the bottom would cook. And then all this goodness will be raw. The other reason is because I want it to cook the sides as well, as in like specifically like not just, I could flip it and things like that, but it'll cook the sides much better. And the reason we move it away is just basically, everyone sees a tripod and goes, okay, cool, how high do we get it? How low do we get it? Not necessarily, it's where do you position it, and then you can adjust the height. So I definitely didn't need to make this tripod this big, but I did it for fun. Let's give that a while. We'll start with the fat cap and then we'll work our way through. So this is starting to get a little bit browned on the outside. It's been about, I don't know, 20 minutes or something. So we're just going to flip that round. And we want to just keep flipping it. You can't flip it too many times, just to keep that heat going into it evenly on both sides. And then we'll do the fat cap afterwards as well. And the great thing about having a bit of wire is that you can twist it to get precise movements. So if you just want like a little 10-degree twist, you can just twist that wire a little bit. Whereas with just a hook through the bone, you can't do that. Now, when you're picking how far away to have your steak from the fire, what you want to be able to do is hold your hand there for about 6 seconds without it getting too hot. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's bloody hot now. So 6 seconds is about the sort of the right level. Now I'm cheating here. I've got a little thing on my phone that tells me the actual temperature with this probe. So mine says ambient temperature here is 98 degrees. You want about 100 to 120 degrees ambient. So if you do have one of these, this is called a meter, M-E-A-T-E-R. Not sponsored. I literally just bought it today. That's a really good little thing. Also, you can just use a meat thermometer, hold it on the front of your steak and figure out what the temperature is. All right, let's get into the sides. That steak is now at 30 degrees internal. So that means I've probably got nearly an hour left. So it's a good time to start things because you don't want to peel these too early. So got some washed potatoes. Now, never ever get unwashed potatoes if you're in the bush because they take too much water to wash. And also, don't throw your skins away because these make amazing chips the next day. All right, keep those for the morning. And I want to make some chips. And these need to be cut up. Good sharp knife. Cut them up to the size of chips that you like. So I like relatively small chips because I like them crispy. Some people like a big steak fry. And I know the irony of not making steak fries while I'm making steak is not lost on me, but this is how I like them. All right. And then I'm going to rinse these as well. So my sink is clean. So I'll chuck my plug in. and get these in some water. So drying these, you just do them bit by bit. Don't try and dry all the potatoes at once because you'll just drench everything. So tea towel. The drier they are, the crispier they'll be. And do not air dry them because they will just go brown. The other thing with crispy potatoes is the best way to get a crispy potato is to get a fresh potato. So ideally one you've bought in the last couple of days from a supermarket or grocer with high turnover. You don't want one that's just been rotting in the corner of a little general store. There we go. They look good. And you can also use paper towel for this. I think we've got enough chips for the two of us. Yes, there'll be lots of leftovers here. Taylor's going, yeah, oh, man. Next, chimichurri. For this, we're going to need some chilies. Now, this is up to personal preference. Some people blend this as well, but personal preference, I like a bit of chili, so that's what I'm going to make. I know Taylor does too. And you want to really finely dice this up. And definitely recommend getting a red one, only because they look better against the green in the rest of this dish. Next, some flat leaf parsley. The reason we're making a chimichurri is because it's got lots of acid, lots of vinegar, and it will cut through the fattiness of the beef and the potatoes, to be honest. Next, garlic. I'm just going to quickly check the steak temperature. 37, which means I've probably got about 40 minutes to go, which means I'm going to put the chips in now and I'll finish this in a second. So, cold oil chips, same as I did last time. These are a divisive one, but they work bloody well. So cold beef fat, you can use normal oil, but they will not be as good. Cold beef fat, chips, let's do it. So, the reason we're doing cold oil is you might have heard of like twice fried or even thrice fried chips, but the idea there is that the chips get like a boil and then they get a fry. This kind of does that. Because there's a little bit of moisture in them, they are going to slowly heat up, they're going to slowly get to temperature, and that kind of does the boiling, not quite perfectly, kind of, and then it does the frying. So you literally just leave them on until they're brown, which should take about half an hour, 40 minutes. But it's also really easy because you don't need any kind of a special tools or thermometers or anything. All right, let's finish off this garlic. Good noises coming from over there. Good noises. Actually, good noises coming from all over the place. He's getting a beer, so that's a good noise. And he's getting cooked. That's a good noise. Now, you do actually want to do your chimichurri ideally at least 10 minutes before you serve it. And the reason for that is because you kind of want the acid in the vinegar to soak into this, or to like take the edge off the garlic and the chili, mostly the garlic. Actually, what am I doing? I'm going to actually use the correct knife for this one, because I want to cut this off really fine. Don't crush it in there, do actually cut it up. But what the big knife is really useful for is this. That's a lot of garlic actually. That'll do. Red wine vinegar, so a couple of tablespoons of that. Salt, pepper. Now I like to mix this up a bit first to get that vinegar working, and it needs olive oil, but I'm going to add the olive oil in a little bit later. All right, let's go and check on everything else and clean up. And make sure we keep this fat cap towards the fire as much as possible. It's funny, they have a bit of a mind of their own. They like to just spin certain ways, so you've got to keep an eye on them. How are these chips going? Yep, getting there. Still a little bit of bits of beef, tiny bits that have somewhat scarred them, but that's all right. Not scarred, they're just some tiny little bits of beef on them. I'm not mad at that. So we're probably about 15 minutes away from serving. I'm just going to add in some olive oil, quite a lot. And we'll give that a nice little stir up. and that will infuse that olive oil as well. All right, we're at the pointy end. That's at 52 degrees internal. Those are looking really good. So with your chips, you want them to be light brown because they go browner once they get taken out and the oxygen hits them. So I reckon they've got about 2 minutes to go. That needs a sear. So let's make that happen. So sear is easy. Take your meat thermometer out because it's got like 100 degree Celsius limit. And this is not going to be 100 degrees. It's going to be a hell of a lot more than that. Get it? And you just chuck it over the hottest part of the fire. And that is going to get a lot of flame. It's going to get a lot of everything. That's okay. Some people get weird about flame. It's covered in fat. It's going to flare up. It doesn't matter if you're using a gas barbecue. It's going to flare up, and that's okay because all we're doing is the final sear. We're doing the final browning. Also, you should barely need to rest this thing. All right, that's searing. Oh, shit. Oh, thankfully, that only landed in a little bit of ash, not in any sand. Whew. Ash is fine. Ash doesn't stick to meat, especially when it's oily like this is. That is looking so good. Yeah, they can come off. It's great not needing to know the oil temperature. Just take them off when they're brown. I've got to say, I've nailed the timing on this with these and that. Just, I'm pretty impressed with myself. All right, I'm gonna call that done. Let's take that off and bring it over to the table. Okay. Oh, look at that sear. Seriously, that is, should be illegal. I'm gonna get demonetized on YouTube for this. Okay, now let's stir up some chippies. We'll let this rest for a couple of minutes. And we're gonna do the toppings on the chippies as well. So, I might just serve them, yeah, I'll serve them straight to the plate. Bit of salt, bit of pepper. Just grab a little bit of parsley. Chuck that on there. Then you want to give that a bit of a toss around. I didn't have a bowl, so I'm using a pot. Oh. All right, filleting knife. I can do this properly. I'm gonna cut this off the bone. We're definitely gnawing on that later. Now, did I screw it up? No, I did not. That is perfect. And because it's been cooking for hours, the fat renders nicely, so it goes really soft and tender. Ah, oh, sorry, I'm making bad sexy noises. I'm just really excited. I just want to just... Okay. Now, you put the chimichurri over the top of the beef. Now the last video was called my ultimate steak and chips. This is my ultimate steak and chips. Time for some gratuitous B-roll. Okay.
I'm gonna try a chip first.
Yeah, have a chip.
Oh wow.
They're good, aren't they?
Oh my god.
Yeah.
They are amazing.
The beefy flavour, it actually comes through. I didn't get them out quickly enough from the oil, so they're not super crispy. They can be, if you're just more organised and not trying to film. But, okay, this is the perfect bite. Some chimichurri, some chips, some Wagyu.
Oh my god.
I'm closing the channel.
You're done. Oh, that's it.
I've peaked.
That is amazing.
How good's that, like, raw garlic and...
So good. Oh.
Oh,
That flavour is just so intense.
It is so, like, I'm cutting this with essentially a spoon. Oh,
There's a reason I like going camping with Harry. And it's here. I don't care about his personality. This food is amazing.
now, the test.
Oh no.
Does it go well with beer?
Wow. That is the pub test.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah, it goes well with beer.
One second.
Yeah.
Now, think you're at a pub. Go out. Man, it's a fight here. Go out, got a mouthful of steak, chips. Oh yeah.
I like that. They're like, just as you finish chewing,
Yeah, you've got
Swig.
to still have food in your mouth.
we wash down. God, that's a good way to clean your mouth, isn't it?
So
Oh,
it clears everything out as you're chewing, and then you get another mouthful.
oh, that's really good. All right. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh my god.
That's so good, dude. How's that steak?
That is amazing. Like, genuinely, that is so good. That's probably the best.
It's actually
steak
just
I've ever-
melting.
Yeah,
Right.
that is the best steak I've ever had.